Hey everybody, it's Scrapbooking with Trish, and today I'm going to be going over how to make a mixed media layout using Photoshop on your computer and your iPad. You're going to open up the base layer that you have created in Photoshop onto your iPad, and then we're going to import the brushes that we're going to be using. You just go to brushes, scroll down, and then import, discover more, and it's going to take you to Adobe's free brushes. They have so many of them. I highly recommend going and looking at them and just checking them out. You never know what you're going to use it for. Like me, I do a lot of drawing, so I use them all the time. We're going to be using the Mega Pack for this, so you're going to click download and it'll install it into your iPad. So we're going to start with, in the paint box, we're going to go to the chunky gesso brush, and we're going to use it to paint a layer over the butterflies. I really hope I said that right. I'm never sure if it's gesso or gesso. You're going to create a new layer, and then you're going to, having white paint, you're just going to go over all of the butterfly, and you're going to do that for all of them. It might take 1 or 2 layers to get it as thick as you want it to get, but it will get there. Once you get your butterflies all filled in, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to one of the butterfly stencil layers, and you're going to click on it, and then, hold on, you're going to click on the butterfly stencil layer, click the 3 dots, and then click Lotus Selection. Then you're going to go back up to your paint layer, and you're going to click on it, and then click the 3 dots again, and then you're going to do copy, and then you're going to click load as new layer again, and it should copy and paste your butterflies. Once you've got them all where you want them, you're going to go in and get the gesso, whatever, glaze edge brush, and you're just going to sort of go through, and on a new layer with the white paint, you're just going to sort of rough up the edges some so that they're not so like fakely straight. I don't do paper scrapbooking, so like, I don't know, maybe some people get their edges that nice and that smooth. I know that I would not if I did, because I tend to rush and be sloppy. So, I mean, you can leave the edges looking nice and crisp if you want to, but just to sort of give it a more realistic to me look, I went through and used a brush and sort of roughed up the edges and the inside some. Once you finish filling in the butterflies, I'm going to be using the watercolor fill brush from the paint box also to create the watercolor background using the leaf stencil. Then we're going to use the color picker and select either from the paint, or I have the tape up there that has all of the different colors that are in the collection, and you're going to select the color that you want to use and then just sort of paint over the areas of the stencil that you are going to be using. I'm just going to be using the areas that sort of go along the diagonal that the page already has going on. And I'm going to start with the blues up at the top and then work down to the yellows and then the greens. In the settings, under the three dots or under the brush tab, you can change all the different parts of it. I'm going to increase the flow so that more color comes out as I am using it. And then you're just going to, like I said, paint all the areas that you plan to use. Once you have all your paint areas filled in, you're going to do like you did with the butterflies before and click on your stencil and click load as selection. And then instead of copying and pasting, we're just going to go up to the paint layer and we're going to click it and then the three dots and then click cut, because we're just removing all of that stuff. And then you're going to turn off the visibility for your stencil layer and you'll see the areas that you painted. From here, I'm going to go through and use the watercolor glaze and just sort of use the colors to sort of spread them out like watercolor would be. Soften up some of the edges of the lighter areas, and using the color picking tool, blend some of the darker ones into the background paint that I already have so that it sort of looks like it's bled into it like it would if you had used regular watercolors. From here, it's just a whole lot of color picking and then just trying to make it look as natural as possible. Like, there's no easy, quick way to do it. There's not like some cheat that I can tell you that'll make it go super fast. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, but I mean, I enjoy doing it. Once you finish up with that, you're going to make sure that your document saves to the Adobe Cloud and then open it up on your laptop and go ahead and start building your page. As you can see, I've already got some paper layers going on, and I'm going to show you how to sort of clip the paint realistically into the paper layer underneath it so that it gives it more dimension and it doesn't just like it's laying there flat on the page. You're going to make sure that your paper is underneath the paint that you're planning to use, and then you're going to go ahead and add your shadow to it. It's important when you're working with your paint to go ahead and sort of merge it all together. It makes it easier to do. And it's also important to work with copies of that paint so that you can keep using it over and over, which you're going to need more than one of it anyway, without worrying about ruining it in case you need to start over or have more to use. So now you're going to take your copies of your paint and then you're going to drag them down to where your paper layer is, and then you're going to right click on those layers, and then you're going to click create clipping mask, and then this will, I mean, you can sort of see how you can see the edge of your paper, but it still sort of looks not quite right how it should. So what we're going to do is create a layer from your shadow, and then you're going to start removing areas from the paint. First, you're going to select the paint that's clipped into the paper, and you're going to tweak it just a little bit because it's not actually going to be lined up and flat with the paint underneath it, since there's something on top of it that has sort of interrupted the paint. I usually just either tilt it a little bit up or a little bit down, depending on the direction that the paper is going. And then now we're going to go back to the paint that is under the paper, and we're going to create a new layer by using the selection of the shadow layer. And this is going to make it a whole lot easier than the normal ways I would do this. Once you have that new shadow layer, you're going to rotate it and use warp to sort of move it around, and everything that is gray that you're moving is going to be removed from the paint. So where the paper sort of hangs down on the edge some, the gray comes out more. Where it's going to be overlapped by something holding it in place, the gray is going to go up. It's going to be showing less because it's held down more, and the paint is going to be more even to the area there. And then once you have that done, you're going to right click on the gray, click on the paint, and then go to edit, cut to remove that paint area. And then you can get rid of the gray layer, or you can use it as your shadow layer. To create a shadow with that layer, you're going to click on it, and then you're going to go up to filter, blur, and then you're going to select Gaussian blur and adjust it sort of to the blurriness that you like. I usually keep the shadow not quite so fuzzy for paper, so it's going to be about a 3.5 usually. And then you're going to adjust the blending mode and the opacity of the layer, and there you go. You've got yourself a shadow. That's the same way basically that a layer style would do it. You see I'm showing you where the shadow is now. Another thing I like to do is, once I've got the shadow figured out and the paint cut away from the area, I'll go through and use the magnetic lasso to select just specific areas of the paint, and then going all around just the area that I want it, making sure that it's not going to be like super noticeable that just one spot's been moved. I'll then go through and either move it over some or move it up some or rotate it some, just to sort of, again, give it a more natural look to it. Now I'm going to take one of my stitch brushes that I have. Mine's a commercial use one that honestly I've had forever and I couldn't tell you where I got it from. And I'm going to go through and add some details to some of the watercolor leaves. I'm using white to match the rest of the kit, and I'm also going to apply a stitch style. You can do this though if you don't have that by either making your own brush or just using stitching that is with other objects. Once you're done with that, you're going to finish building up your page, and then I've sent my page back over to my iPad, and I'm going to be using different drawing brushes to add a little more details like flowers and outlines to the page. It's okay if you're sloppy or if you have to make mistakes. All you have to do is just undo, and it's not permanent, and it's okay for it to be messy. the tutorial was helpful for you, and thanks for watching.